Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's edition of Sports Shorts TV. I'm Ronnie Rantz alongside Chad Blouin. We come to you from the LaBerge Hotel and Casino Studios in downtown Baton Rouge. Hope you're having a great week and have thawed out to what has become the deep freeze of Baton Rouge 2014. Chad, it's amazing to think it's Super Bowl week. And it might be colder in Louisiana than it is in New York, where the Super Bowl will be taking place.
Yeah, it's in the words of my dad, man, God rest his soul. It's cold as a well digger's rump in Alaska, bro. And it looks like it's going to be getting colder this week. That's a great point you made about the Super Bowl. Yeah, it is, man. Glad to be back. Thank you, man. You want me to just come back aboard? I mean, to be part of the Sports Shorts team?
Well, it depends. Are you going to sell? But here's the thing, Chad, is that, people don't, there's a little fact, and of course, you'll hear a lot about this fact over the next 7 days, and that is that the coldest Super Bowl on record prior to this one has been the one in New Orleans back in the early 70s between the Dolphins and the Cowboys. The temperature at kickoff was about 38 degrees or whatever, so in that one, they're expected that the temperatures will be below that in New York City. But I guarantee you, if you would have done a poll, no one would have gotten that one. That the coldest Super Bowl prior to what's going to transpire this year took place in New Orleans. And it's interesting going back and looking at some of the articles and all written on that Super Bowl 40 years ago. Not much was made about the weather, but that's all you've heard about over the last year. Really, has been the weather of this year's Super Bowl.
I think for me, there's a want, in the words of the great Les Miles, for it to be an absolute blizzard and a debacle. I mean, talking about maybe even having to reschedule that bad boy for Monday just because of Roger Goodell, I call him. Can't stand that guy, what he did to the Saints. Basically, the lost year, if you recall. This is Roger Goodell's vision. This is his baby. And there's a want for me to, just to kind of, so it backfires on him for that Super Bowl to fall flat on its face. And, of course, that way we'll never have to go back up north again.
Well, the Super Bowl is going to be between, I think, the best two teams in the AFC. I think the Broncos have been the best team in the AFC all season long, and Seattle's been the best team in the NFC. So for the first time since 2009, you're going to have the number one seed in both conferences going at it for the Super Bowl. Remember that year, of course, was the Saints beating the Colts. But I'm excited about the Super Bowl because you have such contrasting styles.
Yeah, great point. Look, Seattle, you know what you get. Big, physical, bruising defense. And you watch Richard Marshall there, who I think is the best defensive back that I've seen in a long time. Deion Sanders-like. That's how good that guy is in coverage. Seattle, they basically compress the field on you and live and die by the turnover. Russell Wilson, a steady hand, one of my favorite quarterbacks in the league, just well-spoken, mature young man. No moment seems to be too big for him. A big physical team. And then the contrast in the styles. You talk about Denver, you talk about Peyton Manning, an absolute computer back there. I mean, we've never seen a guy that studies a better mind in football than Peyton Manning, and a guy that, as you well know, I'm not a big fan of. But yeah, it's going to be exciting to see two things. Number one, what's been the biggest stick on Peyton Manning? He can't play in cold weather, right? And number two, physical big defenses. How will he? Because you can make the argument that Peyton Manning didn't face a top 5 defense all year long. Imagine if he had been in the NFC. Would you have seen these kind of numbers had he had to play against a San Fran D? Even a Saints defense, a Carolina defense. So going to be interesting to see how Pay a Ton for Manning looks against a bigger defense that actually plays defense. I don't know if anybody, can you name one defense that's legit out of the AFC, Ronnie?
Yeah, anywhere near to the level of Carolina, San Francisco, and Seattle, no. I mean, not really.
Well, why don't you mention the Saints? They're a top 5 defense.
Well, because even though the Saints are a top 5 defense, what are the 2 losses that they had that kept them from being the number 1 seed? Carolina, when they went a minute with no timeout to win the game, and New England went a minute with no timeout to win the game. So yes, the Saints statistically are a top 5 defense, and boy, they deserve all the credit. They're why the Saints were in the playoffs this year, not the offense. But top 5 defenses, and when you think of the best defenses, San Francisco, Seattle, Carolina, they're not giving up that drive to lose the game like the Saints did. And I think that's the difference now is, okay, the Saints have proven under Ryan that they can be a good defense. Next year, they've got to, A, either force more turnovers. They have to do that. But B, when the money's on the line and when the game's on the line, that's when it matters most. You know, Cam Newton and the Carolina Panthers, their offense against the New Orleans Saints, for example, when they lost that game in Carolina, was atrocious. The Saints handled them. But when the money was on the line, Cam Newton got it done, and now you think of him as a winning quarterback. And so now it's all about being a winning defense.
Really great point. We define quarterbacks by what they do in the final 2 minutes. I think it's fair, your point well made, to judge defenses by the final 2 minutes. The NFL has become almost like wrestling, man. You know, it really has. Nothing really matters until the final 3 minutes.
It's like the NBA. Yeah, every game comes down to the last 5 minutes in the NBA.
And if you watch, in particularly defenses and offenses in the final 2 minutes of the first half and final 2 minutes of the second half, oftentimes those games are won or lost just in those 4 minutes. Isn't it amazing that coaches don't put more of a premium, or maybe they do, but the inability to execute under those pressure situations define them?
Well, under Sean Payton, and we got off on the Saints there for a minute, but under Sean Payton and the success that he's had since coming to New Orleans, what were they good at? The last 2 minutes of the first half and at the end of ball games, you know. And the Saints under Drew Brees and Sean Payton really put a lot of emphasis on that last 2 minutes of the first half, first possession coming out of halftime. That's why they always defer when they win the toss. And at the end of games. And the difference of this year's team was they didn't do those things as well. You know, even as good as they were on offense, had some big games at home, had some good moments defensively, those little details at the end of games and at the end of halves, this was not the typical, New Orleans Saints team that they've been in the past. So that's something they've got to do in order to, be a Super Bowl team next year.
That's a really good point, and thank you for bringing that up. I'll bring that up on my radio show. It's something that I don't think we pay enough attention to. We look at all of the dressing and all of the things that go on in the first 58 minutes.
Yeah.
But I think we need to go back, and I'll go back and do some research to find out where the Saints in the final 2 minutes lie defensively in both halves as well as offensively and see the results. I'll bet you that was the difference between a 1, a 2, and a 3 seed as a Saints fan.
Yeah, no question, because the Saints really, as good a team as they were that close to being a number 1 seed. No question about it. But getting back to the Super Bowl, obviously the nation is going to be pulling for the Denver Broncos and Peyton Manning. I mean, the guy's a historical figure, great family, going to be in the Hall of Fame. Outside of really the state of Washington and maybe Idaho, I don't know that anybody else is really pulling for the Seahawks.
Oh, and Chad Blouin. Chad Blouin's pulling for the Seahawks because Chad Blouin cannot stand pay a ton for Manning. And by the way, I did see their 30 for 30, which was amazing.
That was great.
Great family. I don't know why I have.
Where did that come from?
I'm an Eli guy.
I mean, what is it?
I think it's jealousy. I think that's what it's got a lot to do with. And I think for me, as an LSU nut job that I am fan, I think none of the Mannings coming to LSU. I also think that their father forcing the hands of GMs in drafts, well, we just won't play for you then. That left a really bad taste in my mouth. And so I think E-Cry Manning I like. I call him E-Cry Manning. Guy always looks like he's got a bad stomach ache, looks like he's crying, E-Cry Manning. I like him, but pay a ton for Manning. I don't know what it is. He bounced my guy T-Bell. And I think, too, my sister pulled for the Colts. As you well know, me and you were together back then. As you remember, I was in your arms, and many people may not know that, against the Minnesota Vikings. But that great run, my sister, who's Louisiana born and raised, pulled for pay a ton for Manning in that Super Bowl. Unforgivable, and I think that's somewhere where some of the resentment comes in, Ronnie.
Well, the thing about Eli is that, a couple of years ago we were having a discussion about Eli Manning and Peyton Manning, who would you rather have? And I think that his the way he has fallen off the wagon over the last 2 seasons, it's pretty obvious in the way that Peyton Manning's come back from that neck injury. It's no question that you'd take Peyton Manning over Eli. And the irony is that, Eli Manning won his second Super Bowl in Indianapolis in Peyton Manning's building, and now Peyton gets a chance to win possibly his second Super Bowl in Eli's house.
You've been studying? That's good stuff, man.
I just remember these things.
My God, that's great stuff, man.
So it's kind of, who knows, they might end up with both 2 Super Bowls, and then, the discussion of who's the best is over with. But Peyton Manning, if he wins in New Jersey, after the year he's had with 55 touchdowns, threw for more yards than anybody else in the history of the game, there's some talk that, who knows, maybe he rides off in the sunset, Elway style, who after his second Super Bowl, retired. What's your thought on that?
Well, personally, I hope he does. I can't stand the guy. But look, the reality is Peyton Manning, if he goes ahead and finishes the deal this year, I think my ridiculousness in calling him out as a fraud and all that will have to come to an end, which I'm sure he cares about that. But I think, what a better time to go. Probably not. I mean, one thing about Peyton that I love, Ronnie, and it's the same thing that you have and I have, the guy's got a competitive spirit like no other, man. His desire to win, his perspective. This guy knows where he stands historically. You better believe he knows where he stands. And so I would have to look at where he lies as far as records goes and things of that nature before I can give you an educated decision on whether or not he goes or not. Look, love him or hate him, the guy's been great for the game. Would hate to see the guy go, really, because I love to pull against him. The AFC would certainly love it too, because it looks like with that neck healthy and that offense, it looks like Denver's going to dominate for a while as long as that guy is healthy. What they did this year was pretty special.
Well, what they're saying right now is that Peyton Manning's going to get evaluated when the season's over with. He's year to year, going to get the neck checked out. And, of course, if the doctors give him a clean bill of health and there's been no degenerative stuff that's happened over the last 6 months, then he's likely to continue playing. But obviously, if he wins the Super Bowl and he goes and sees the doctors and they go, you know what, I think you're one hit, you're real close to being paralyzed or something terrible, then maybe he's done.
Do we go back to the glory days of Blouin and do a little prediction? By the way, I already owe you a Coke for the Manning debacle. How about Tom not even showing up? It reminded me of Roberto Duran. No mas. That fight was fixed, and I believe that game was too. It was.
Yeah, he took
ugly.
Tom Brady.
Of course I would.
Manning.
I would never give Peyton credit. Of course the bookies had something to do with it. But no, who you got? Just out of curiosity.
Well, I think I take the Denver Broncos. I like the offense. I think Russell Wilson and the Seattle Seahawks have really ridden the backs of their defense all year. They've had some games where they've done nothing offensively, but yet been able to win. At St. Louis, they had 150 yards of offense and a bunch of turnovers, won that game. In the playoffs, Russell Wilson has really not been very good. His QBR ratings have been real low. He's thrown for under 200 yards in both games and played poor enough to lose, but the defense bailed him out. But I don't think that's going to happen against Peyton Manning. I don't think that defense can completely shut down the Broncos. Therefore, no matter how poorly the Broncos offense plays, I think they score enough points to win the game. Broncos are like a 1-2 point favorite. I like Denver.
You like Denver? I'm going to go Seattle 12-11. No, just kidding. No, I go Seattle 17-13 and a barn burner. And I think Peyton throws an interception late, driving, just like he did against the Saints.
Oh, wow.
And entrenches even further, in my mind, the choke artist that he has and has become through the years. Seattle gets it done. And 17-13.
Double or nothing.
No, how about a 12-pack, baby? Times are good in the Blouin household.
I don't know about that. I think Peyton Manning is the year he's been having, and that offense is just too good.
Yeah, it is. It is good.
He's Chad Blouin. We're going to take a break. When we come back on the other side, we'll talk about the Pro Bowl and see what Chad's take is on this new, Jerry Rice, Deion Sanders, the new Pro Bowl. It definitely was more competitive, low scoring, hard hitting. We'll talk about the Pro Bowl, a little LSU basketball, some LSU football news, and a whole lot more. Don't go anywhere. Sports Shorts will continue from the LeBaire Hotel and Casino Studios right after this.
We have 2 cars, an RV, and a home, but only one agent. We've got Wagasback.
I get personal service, and I know I'm getting the best price and coverage. I've got Wagasback.
For my insurance claim, I wasn't just a number, but my agent is number 1. They were with me every step of the way. I've got Wagasback.
Wagasback and Associates Insurance. Over 25 years of saving you money. Whether it's auto, home, life, health, or business insurance, Wagasback has you covered.
Hi, I'm Ronnie Rantz over here at LTAC of Denham Springs. Joining me right now is Hospital Administrator and CEO Ricky Robeson. And Ricky, tell us what makes LTAC of Denham Springs so special.
It's a great question, Ronnie. What makes us very special is that we take such a wide range of patients, anywhere from critically ill patients to patients that need rehab and special strengthening and nutrition. What we do best here is patient care. We give the best patient care in the area. Patients, when they come here, they want to come back if they ever need care again. A lot of people say proof is in the pudding. Well, the pudding here is patient surveys. We have 99% patient satisfactions on our most recent studies. One of the things also that people take for granted is food. Food helps you heal. It's very important in the healing process. Not only do our patients, but our patients' families love the food here. That's one of the things we're most proud of, Ronnie.
Well, their food is made on site, and you can come by, check out LTAC of Denham Springs, see Ricky and the gang. It's located just a mile off I-12 and Jubin Road exit in Denham Springs, conveniently located between Hammond and Baton Rouge.
A foundation repair may be one of the most serious challenges a homeowner may ever face. That's why Louisiana residents turn to the home team for foundation repair, WCK Foundation Repair. The WCK drill pier method is the ideal solution for our soil, and it is the preferred foundation repair system recommended by most local engineers. Plus, the lifetime warranty leaves you with a secure home in mind. Call for a free estimate or log on to our website to learn more about the signs of foundation damage. WCK Foundation Repair. Support the home team.
Sports Shorts is brought to you by the LaBerge Hotel and Casino in Baton Rouge, AMG Specialty Hospital in Denham Springs, Northwestern Mutual Insurance Agent Walter Price, Mr. Taco on Airline Highway in Baton Rouge, Wagasback Insurance, waginsure.com, and WCK Foundation Repair. Get with the home team. Welcome back, everyone, to Sports Shorts TV. Ronnie Rantz here, coming to you from the LaBerge Hotel and Casino Studios in downtown Baton Rouge. Chad Blouin filling in for Joel Davis this week. And Chad, tell the folks where they can see your, check out and listen to your new radio show.
You know, we started last week the new sports giant man of Baton Rouge, Fox Sports Radio, AM 910. Just want to encourage you people to, if you don't, for some reason, if my signal doesn't extend to your little area of land, all you got to do, go download the TuneIn app. It's a free app. Search WUBR from 5 to 7. Absolutely bananas last week. I'm a guy that don't even like to take phone calls. I think we averaged like 5 or 6 calls each show, and man, it's going well. Proud as hell to be a part of the Fox Sports brand and the team that is Fox Sports. So if you get a chance on drive time, you're sitting around, ain't got nothing better to do in the car, listen. And I know you listen, Ronnie. You would never admit that you are as big a fan as anybody of the Chad Blouin Show. But
I'm a member of the Blouin Nation.
Yeah.
Can I get a double X T-shirt that says that?
I actually do have it. I'll get you one.
Chad, let's talk a little bit about the AFC NFC Pro Bowl. You know, in the years past, we've talked about this topic, and this game has been pretty much garbage the last few years. Basically, two-hand touch. I don't even know why they had the pads on. Sure. They should just go. They should run around on a beach with no shoes and just call it a Pro Bowl. But now, all of a sudden, in jeopardy of this game becoming so insignificant, and not to mention losing money for the league and the players, they tried to come up with a format that would maybe reinstill some competition and make this thing a game. And this year they took 2 Hall of Famers, Jerry Rice as one coach and Deion Sanders as another. They had a draft. They let these guys draft their team from a pool of Pro Bowlers. So you actually, for the first time, had guys that are on the same team during the year going against each other in the game. And we saw a number of times where an offensive player and a defensive player might hit each other, and they were with the same team. The game was much more competitive. Jerry Rice's team went for 2. They won 22-21 over Deion Sanders' team. They went for 2 with under a minute to go in a game and won the game. Normally this game's 51-49, and guys are literally like letting players run right by them and not tackling them. But this time around, what was your take on it?
Ronnie, I was impressed. I really was. You and I are 2 competitive beasts, and if we were on a basketball court, we would fight each other. That's the manhood in us, and it's good to see, men being men. I mean, for the last couple of years, we didn't see that. Like you said, it looked like flag football out there. These guys were, and you can't blame them for contractual obligations or for whatever. I mean,
not wanting to get hurt.
They stand to lose a lot of money if they bump a knee. I mean, but I thought with the 2. First of all, Deion Sanders, Jerry Rice, 2 of the best ever at their respective divisions, 2 positions, 2 pride-filled guys. It was good to see pride back on both sides of the football because really that game had become a mockery of the NFL. Remember, the NFL is the most popular sport in the United States. It ain't even close. I mean, basketball, baseball, soccer.
You put them all together.
Put them all together. Yeah. It was the only black eye that the NFL had was their Pro Bowl game. I thought they did a lot. And I appreciate the effort to reinstill some validation and some legitimacy. I enjoyed watching it, man. I really did.
What is your take on this? They're doing the Pro Bowl game now the week before. They've started doing this a few years ago.
Sure.
Doing it the week before the Super Bowl, where it's kind of that dead week, that weekend before where there is no football. But the trade-off of that is, it's good timing because there's that void right before the storm of the Super Bowl week. But you don't get the Super Bowl participating teams. There's no Broncos, there's no Seattle Seahawks, which between them, those teams probably have about 10 Pro Bowlers. So, you are losing some star power. But what's your take on it this way?
Well, I think that was
the week after.
Absolutely ingenious by the National Football League. Ronnie, you and I both know when the Super Bowl was over, we could have cared less about the National Football League. The week before the Super Bowl, there's still a little bit left in us. There's still a little bit more intrigue. I like what they did. Look, the guys that go to the Super Bowl, their reward is the Super Bowl. I mean, you get to play in the biggest game on earth and the most watched game on earth. That's your reward. For the guys that don't, and for us as fans, I think putting it a week before was an absolute genius marketing move. And I think the dividends I think it's going to pay off because I'm like you. If I'm just not going to sit around after the Super Bowl. It's kind of like a balloon. After the balloon, boom, 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 boom. After the Super Bowl, it busts. It loses a lot of its air and a lot of its bite. So I love that. The NFL has done, look, Ronnie, since I was knee-high on the bump and you as well, the NFL has done a masterful job marketing its product, man. I mean masterful. From the time when I was 8 years old and Mama bought me a lunchbox that had all of the helmets on the side of it. And I try to remember, we would, the Bengals and all, you did it, I did it. From that point on, since about 1980, it's just insane. Man, that league does a hell of a job.
When I was a kid, I had a bedspread, like on the twin bed when I was 6, 7 years old, and it had a logo of every team in the league, and I would lay there at night and try to, get all the teams and all their names.
That's
and
marketing,
and
Ronnie, and they've done one hell of a job doing it, man.
The Pro Bowl. 2 quick things on it before we move on to the next topic. A, do you like the fact that they've kind of gone back to Hawaii? There was a minute where they moved it to Miami, and there's some talk and some thought that, hey, if you play the Pro Bowl in the Super Bowl city the Sunday before, all the media is there, you get more attention, you can then have the Super Bowl participating players come in and at least run out or be on the sidelines and do some, publicity for the game, and they get to be a part of it. Or do you like the fact that it's in Hawaii?
No, I think the first point you made, I think that, and surprised the NFL hasn't done that. Boy, it would make a lot more sense from a visibility standpoint that, in particularly seeing the Super Bowl guys on the sidelines raring for their teams. And I think that'd be a great, great opportunity for the NFL to advance, even further. Look, the NFL, as great as it is, Ronnie, has to overcome some serious black eyes that have transpired over the last couple of years, in particular with these concussion issues. Mm-hmm. And so I think anything it can do to re-legitimize itself or reinforce itself as a league that cares about the fan, I think it'd be a perfect fit to do exactly what you're talking about. Great point.
He's Chad Blouin. I'm Ronnie Rantz. All right, let's move on to the next thing. LSU basketball. I know this past weekend, as we tape here on Monday, this past Saturday, the Tigers who looked like for the last couple of weeks to start to get things going a little bit. You know, I mean, in the SEC, there's Kentucky, Florida, and everybody else. And LSU's trying to be that third or fourth team in the league and maybe sneak into an NCAA tournament. But this past Saturday, down 19 on the road at Alabama, got back to playing what they couldn't throw the ball in the ocean. Then all of a sudden they get on a run, tie the thing up quickly with about 10 minutes to go, and at the end of the day can't pull it out, a game that they really needed to win.
Well, my beautiful gorgeous, as you've heard before we went on the air, that was one that was tough to swallow. Let's just get back to the basics. And I thank you for having me earlier today, because on my 5 o'clock show, I was going to blow an absolute gasket about this coaching staff. Let me just say this real quick. First of all, I don't know what's going on in the locker room prior to the basketball games, but somebody needs to tell Johnny Jones there's 2 halves in a basketball game. You go back to Rhode Island, you go back to Old Mississippi, you go back to those basketball games, LSU was god-awful in the first half. Same thing against Alabama. They get outscored 20-2 by a basketball team that barely scores 20 points a game. No effort in the first half, couldn't rebound. It was ugly. Then second half comes out, they make a hell of a run. But just like the irony was, 2 weeks ago when I was on this show, I said we'll know a lot more about this LSU team when they play Ole Miss. Ronnie, guess what happened? Ole Miss, 2 games, 2 minutes in the final part of the ball game, LSU blew it. Guess what happened against Alabama? Same exact thing. Johnny Jones, this team is so poorly coached. They can't hit free throws. They turn the basketball over inexplicably. Oh, by the way, you come back down from 19 points, Ronnie. You and I witnessed that. You did it by pressing the basketball. Then all of a sudden, when you catch up, you quit pressing? What happened? Why would you quit doing something you had so much success with? So, it's this end game that's killing LSU. Rhode Island, I mean, the last 3 of the losses, it's been, man, Ronnie, I've been curled up on the floor, man. Get it done in crunch time, man. They haven't been able to do it. Look, in the league right now, I think they lead the league in turnovers. We can't shoot free throws, all right? And in game, you can't execute. There's no rhyme or reason to what we're doing offensively. And as a result, we're losing. Ronnie, that's coaching. That's a fact.
There's now the discussion is, coming into the year, LSU basketball, was this a bubble team to get into the NCAA tournament? This is a bubble team to get into an NIT tournament at this point. With the SEC and as poorly as really everyone's playing besides the top 2 teams, I don't know that the SEC gets more than 2 or 3. And I think right now, Ole Miss is better than LSU. So, Ole Miss is, a team that this LSU basketball team, it's the same problems that they've had. They haven't been able to shoot foul shots for forever, and they don't have anyone to get the ball to when the crunch time. They don't have a go-to scorer or go-to leader offensively that can put the biscuit in the basket when they need it. They're all looking around for someone else to do it. And at the end of the Alabama game, you get a runner in the lane by Hickey, and he gets blocked. A guy who
how many times have we seen that?
Yeah,
how many times do I have to watch this kid dart off into the lane uncontrollably, turn the basketball over, no rhyme, no reason to what they're doing? I mean, it's absolutely nauseating, man, that I sit here and invest 2 hours just to watch it. Every time we're in a close basketball game, the same results. Ronnie, we've got guys to go to. Their name is Mickey and O'Brien. These 2 guys are as good as they are. They were dominating the basketball game. Hey, even Siobhan Coleman showed up and was an offensive threat. It goes back to what we talked about 2 weeks ago, LSU's guards and the lack of consistency at the guard play and the inability to defend out high. My God, everybody in the state of Alabama and the country knew that Relaford was going to do the deal against LSU. The guy had 17 points in the first half. Man, he's the only scorer they had. Yet we sat there and watched it, and my beautiful gorgeous has bruises all over her arm because of the frustration that I've got to sit and watch. And look, Ronnie, I'm not the guy that gets paid all the money. It's somebody said, well, Chad, you go. No, I don't get paid to do it. Why is it that you, Ronnie Rantz, and I know free throws, bro, are free? You don't pay for them, man. They're free. Stay a couple of minutes after work, all right? Shoot some throws, get better at the line. Those 1 and 2 points, Ronnie, they matter at the end of an 82-80 basketball game, don't they?
Well, and the problem now that LSU's facing is, okay, this team, I think, there's no question, because they're so young, that just by just throwing the ball out there and letting them run around, they're going to be better in another month than they are right now. But, okay, so they get a little bit better and they come up short. They don't make an NCAA tournament. Maybe they make an NIT. They get hot. They make an NIT. Then all of a sudden we have to go into another offseason where we have to sit and wonder who we're going to lose and who's going to go to the pros. Johnny O'Brien saying I'm out. Is Mickey saying he's a one and done, which a lot of people expect. If any of those guys leave, then we're back to square one again. And the reality is they shouldn't. But, you know, who knows, egos and all that, you know, come into play. But the bottom line is we're going to be close. We're not going to get in, and then we're going to have to sweat out the offseason and see if any of these guys decide, you know, that they're ready to go to the pros.
I must bring this up, Ronnie. On my radio show last week, I had 2 people call me. One, the doppelganger. God knows who he is, some whack job from around here. And the Jew, some guy named the Jew. Both of them commented on Johnny O'Brien having the worst body language in the history of sport.
The worst.
I mean, this dude looks like he's out of gas 30 seconds into the game, man. And shame on Johnny Jones for making that guy shave that wig that he had, man. Because
at least it gave him some intimidation.
I mean, it just doesn't. But look, dude, his body language is awful.
How tall
man.
is Johnny O'Brien?
6'9".
Okay, but he looks about 6'4" because his shoulders are hunched over. He's always hanging his head. You know, I mean, yeah, it's
I mean, is this guy on some antidepressants, Ronnie? We need. I mean, I know I'm being. It's just you sit and watch it, man. 2 minutes into the game, and the guy's just. It's uncomfortable to watch this poor kid, man.
Yeah,
and by the way, a special player can be a special player, man. He just hadn't been the same without the hair, man. I think he's a modern day Samson.
Samson, I knew you were gonna pull that one out. He's Chad Blouin. He's one to talk. He's got about 7 hairs up there on top, and I've got 6. We'll take a break. When we come back on Sports Shorts, we'll delve into a little bit of LSU football. Big week for them. Big couple of weeks for the Tigers in recruiting. They've got a new offensive line coach. We'll tell you about Jeff Grimes and a whole lot more. Don't go anywhere. Sports Shorts will continue from the LeBaird Hotel and Casino Studios right after this.
Sports Shorts is brought to you by the LeBaird Hotel and Casino in Baton Rouge, AMG Specialty Hospital in Denham Springs, Northwestern Mutual Insurance Agent Walter Price, Mr. Taco on Airline Highway in Baton Rouge, Wagasback Insurance, waginsure.com, and WCK Foundation Repair. Get with the home team.
We have 2 cars, an RV, and a home, but only one agent. We've got Wagasback.
I get personal service, and I know I'm getting the best price and coverage. I've got Wagasback.
For my insurance claim, I wasn't just a number, but my agent is number 1. They were with me every step of the way. I've got Wagasback.
Wagasback and Associates Insurance. Over 25 years of saving you money. Whether it's auto, home, life, health, or business insurance, Wagasback has you covered.
I'm Ronnie Rantz over here at LTAC of Denham Springs. Joining me right now is Hospital Administrator and CEO Ricky Robeson. And Ricky, what does the term LTAC mean?
It stands for long-term acute care, Ronnie. We specialize in patients that's going to take 3 to 4 weeks to recover. Anywhere from pulmonary patients that need ventilator support for respiratory failure, pneumonia. We take nephrology, patients that have renal failure that need dialysis. We take patients that have non-healing wounds. We've got a great wound care physician that's got awesome healing rates who comes here twice a week, plus we have an outpatient wound care clinic. One of the things we're proud of also is we did some renovations to our patient rooms. From ceiling to floor, we've renovated. They look really, really good. The patients are loving them. We go back to simple things like food. Patients are really, really excited about their food, patient and families.
Well, and big thing is they just had a recent survey. 99% of all patients and their family were happy with LTAC at Denham Springs and would return. Come by and see them. They're located on Florida Boulevard at the corner of Florida and Jubin, a mile off of I-12 in Denham Springs.
A foundation repair may be one of the most serious challenges a homeowner may ever face. That's why Louisiana residents turn to the home team for foundation repair, WCK Foundation Repair. The WCK drilled pier method is the ideal solution for our soil, and it is the preferred foundation repair system recommended by most local engineers. Plus, the lifetime warranty leaves you with a secure home in mind. Call for a free estimate or log on to our website to learn more about the signs of foundation damage. WCK Foundation Repair. Support the home team.
Welcome back, everyone, to Sports Shorts TV. Ronnie Rantz alongside Chad Blouin. Our special guest this week on Sports Shorts, Joel Davis, will be back with us next week. Actually, Matt Moscona of ESPN Radio will be here. We'll have Matt here, and we're hoping to reschedule Kenny Guillotte, who was supposed to be our guest today, had to cancel last minute. Something came up with the school at Parkview as they get ready for their weather days, a couple of days off over there. But Kenny Guillotte, who just recently announced that he's stepping down as head football coach at Parkview Baptist, one of the legendary high school coaches in the state, number of state champions over there. Who will be the next coach at Parkview? Well, I'm sure it'll probably be one of his assistants. We'll talk to Kenny at some point in the future. We'll hope to get him rescheduled possibly for next Monday on Sports Shorts TV. Chad, we talked a little bit about the Super Bowl. We talked about the Pro Bowl, LSU basketball. LSU football right now is in that off season. The recruiting is in full bore. They'll have the recruiting bash at the LeBair's Hotel and Casino Studio the Wednesday after the Super Bowl. So a week from this Wednesday, you can go over there and check it out. And of course, LSU has just about everything locked up, but there's some big ones still out there. Corey Raymond, LSU's defensive backs coach, of course, played at LSU in the 90s, played in the NFL. He recruits South Florida, was in Miami to get Mr. Valentine, one of the top defensive linemen in the country, hoping that he becomes a Tiger.
We'll know, of course, coming up on D-Day or signing day. We'll know about him. We'll also know about the jewel, I think, that's left in the class, a guy that's, I really don't know which way, Malachi Dupree, big 6'5", flat, thoroughbred from down in the New Orleans area. And I tell you, after what I thought was one of the most embarrassing moments of my LSU fandom career, which was signing day. And I don't know if you had a chance to watch that. Old Chad Blouin, you know, he's camped out around the TV, ESPN, and getting ready for this, for all of these big commits to come to LSU. And Ronnie, we were devastated. I was, as 5. We were supposed to be going 5 for 5, and some of these prognosticators who actually charge you to be on their sites were saying LSU was going to get 5 stars in one day.
For the Under Armour game?
Yeah, for the Under Armour game. And as we roll out the first one, he's going to A&M, and then the next guy, he's going, and old Chad Blouin's curled up on the floor, ready to detonate on somebody. Look, but
they got the 2 that they needed to get. Adams, the safety from Texas, who a lot of people say might be the best safety in the country, and then Leonard Fournette, the best player and best running back in the country, a Herschel Walker, Bo Jackson type guy. He's coming. So, I mean, even though you didn't go 5 for 5, you got the 2 of the 5 you needed.
Ronnie.
By the way, the little cornerback from Beaumont that committed to Alabama, arrested on DUI last week.
Character issues, and thank you for bringing that up. Man, you've been studying. I'm proud of you. Look, Ronnie. I'll go back to that moment. You've always told me, since I was just a wee baby in this business, number 1, I'm not Walter Cronkite. God, we all figured that out early. Number 2, under-promise and over-deliver, okay? Had I not been spoon-fed 5 for 5, and people promised me that this was going to be, since 2010, this class has been developing. We've been here at 11, 12, and 13, and we get up there and we get 2 for 5. Give me 60%. Give me 80%. Don't give me 40%, man, on national television, Ronnie. It was absolutely embarrassing. Listen, LSU is still going to be fine. You get Malachi Dupree, you get Valentine, which we talked about, but still, for me, it hurt because, again, I was expecting more, and I got less. Had they used your philosophy, promise me less, and I got more, old Chad Blouin wouldn't have been curled up on the floor and detonating on people.
I think that for LSU football this year, they're going to wind up with a top 10 recruiting class. They possibly could end up with a top 5 recruiting class, maybe even number 2 or so, depending on how the chips fall in the last couple of weeks. But the whole key for them was Leonard Fournette. They had to get Leonard Fournette. With Jeremy Hill going pro, you're returning McGee and Hilliard, which was a little bit of a surprise. Some people thought Hilliard might go. But you're returning those 2 running backs. But Fournette It gives you the depth and a superstar in the mix. And now LSU's not going to miss a beat offensively with a team that is going to run the ball a ton next year. So he was really the get you had to get. Now you got to turn to the trenches. You got to turn to offensive line and defensive line, because you lose some guys on the offensive line. You lose all your depth on the defensive line. So that's why a Valentine, the big defensive tackle from South Florida, is so important, because a guy who's a top defensive lineman in the country candidate at a position of absolute need, just like Fournette was for the offense.
6'5", 286 pounds, was originally committed to Miami,
yeah.
decommitted during that same Under Armour game, and hopefully will come to LSU. I'll say this about Leonard Fournette. Ronnie, I don't get into all of the recruiting and, this guy's the next Barry Sanders. We hear all this garbage, and they come to LSU, and they look like garbage. I'll give you Russell Shepard, who was #1 in the country. This guy was supposed to be all
like 8
world.
touches.
Yeah, 8 touches, and I think he's at like a total of 109 yards.
By the way, the best all-time ever, and of course recruiting has come light years since 1985, 6 or whatever. But Gordy Rush was ranked 1 spot ahead of Barry Sanders on the recruiting list while out of high school. I think Gordy was like 132. And
that's like
Barry
the most unbelievable did you know ever right there.
Right.
And the next time I see Gordy, I'll certainly point that out. Ronnie, Leonard Fournette, let me sell him a little bit. I don't normally sell kids. I swear I don't buy into all the hype. Leonard Fournette, I watched him play 2 times this year. Full-grown man.
Oh, yeah.
This kid is legitimate, a horse, man, and he is he's going to be special, man.
You know about that?
No, I know nothing about that.
Yeah, Leonard Fournette has formed the Booger Nation down there. Like that was when he got announced. He had the T-shirts on. All his family was wearing T-shirts.
Yeah, missed that part.
Yeah, Booger Nation. You got to get with that.
Yeah.
It means like for real, not fake, yo.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, something like that.
Now, I've heard of the Blouin Nation. I'm a big fan of the Blouin Nation. Hadn't heard of the Booger Nation yet.
You're the founding father of the Blouin Nation. All right, but Leonard Fournette. The thing about him, if you have not seen him play, and to me this is always a sign of a special running back, is every time he's hit, he goes forward.
Yeah.
He always gets, it takes 2 guys to bring him down, and he always has that lunge, that lean for a yard or 2 after, even when he's going down to the ground. And so I think LSU's got
barring injury. Listen to this, barring injury, and I'll have it because I'm going to upload this show to Facebook, so it'll forever be there. Barring injury, he will be one of the top 3 running backs, barring injury, that has ever stepped foot on the campus of Louisiana State University.
Who are the 3 right now, in your opinion?
We talked about it last time I was here. Cecil the Diesel, I told you, pound for pound, was the best running back I ever saw at Louisiana State University. That guy was special. Number 2, I go Jeremy Hill, who, was just a thoroughbred. You start talking about versatility. Of course, Kevin Falk. Didn't get a chance to see Alexander play, was still a little young. But I've got to go pound for pound. It was just a glimpse of greatness. But, man, he went for, 186, 211, and 195 in 3 games against Cecil Collins. Hard to imagine that guy wouldn't have done special things. Guy ended up having some issues psychologically. Lots of issues, and I know you well documented. But Jeremy Hill, look, special.
So Cecil Collins, Jeremy Hill, and who's the 3rd? All time.
It's hard.
You got Billy Cannon.
No,
Charles Alexander,
come on, man.
Jimmy Taylor.
No,
Harvey Williams.
Kevin Falk, man. Come on.
Dalton Hilliard.
Kevin Falk, man. Look at the numbers. They don't lie. The guy was an All-American. How good was Cecil Collins? Cecil Collins was so good.
I can't put Cecil
in there. Listen, Cecil Collins was so good, Ronnie, that Kevin Falk was a returning All-American to LSU.
What was the movie with Burt Reynolds in the prison?
The Longest Yard.
Cecil Collins was great in The Longest Yard, but I can't put him on my all-time list.
Ronnie, listen. He was so good that Kevin Falk was an All-American returning to LSU.
On the bench.
And we didn't ever want to see him again.
But that makes the point. You can't be one of the top 3 greatest running backs of all time and get beat out by somebody. You can't.
No, that's how good Cecil Collins was, man.
You can't.
Oh, it's a great argument, man.
But I'm going to say this. You can't.
Can I say my generation? I didn't see Taylor. I didn't see Cannon. I didn't see those guys. I saw Hilliard. I was 8 years old. Hilliard was special, but he didn't wow me like those 3 guys did.
I'm going to go Dalton Hilliard. I'm going to go Jeremy Hill, although it's tough to put Jeremy Hill when you're only 2 years. Had he stayed a 3rd year, it'd be the lock of the week, done deal, it'd be all over. But I'm going to give you a modern era guy, and I'm going to go Jeremy Hill. Jeremy Hill's better than Kevin Falk, better than those guys. I can't put the criminal in there. I'm going to go Dalton Hilliard. And then I got to go Charles Alexander hot sauce. I got to go those three.
I've got one.
Charles Alexander carried the ball, 44 times his first game he ever played at LSU?
Listen, we did this on my show. By the way, go to Facebook, the Chad Blouin Show. Just released a fan page, chadblouinshow.com. All the information's right there. But, Ronnie, listen, I got one for you that nobody ever talks about. Ronnie, give me your top 3 wide receivers in the history of Louisiana State University.
Wendell Davis, for sure, one of them. Top 3 wide receivers. Wendell Davis, for sure, one of them. Oh, my goodness.
I mean, you've got 2 of them.
It's hard. It's hard because it's like, Josh Reed, he did it 1 year. Eric Martin, he was a running back. They moved him to receiver. He didn't have the lustrous, long career. But Wendell Davis, for me, was my favorite receiver
I think I'd agree with you, Wendell Davis. But remember who the only Biletnikoff Award in the history was Josh Reed. You got to put him in the top 2.
So you put Josh Reed and Wendell Davis.
And then, but the 2 guys we got this year, number 19 in ESPN's top in the ESPN's ranking top 25 in the SEC. Number 19, Jarvis Landry, who had the best set of hands I think I've ever seen at LSU. This guy, and you were on the sidelines.
Right. Oh,
you saw this guy make some catches. Odell Beckham. When you start talking about combo players,
yeah, it's almost hard because you almost look at Odell Beckham and Jarvis Landry as 1A, 1B as like the same guy. One didn't differentiate himself from the other. They each had brought different.
Where's Dwayne Bowe on your list?
Dwayne Bowe was a good one. I don't know. I'd have to think about it. It's hard to when you talk about all-time great lists, no matter what the sport, to separate and to throw out what they did in the pros. Because we have a tendency to naturally, like Eric Martin wouldn't have probably been on the list because they didn't throw the ball enough back then.
Sure.
If you didn't know that he went to the Saints and was a great wide receiver for New Orleans with Bobby Abrams.
Well, I mean, you talk about Kevin Falk. Look at the career he had with the New England Patriots. Right. He might be the best representative in the history of LSU as far as the National Football League. The guy's got 3 rings, played in 5 Super Bowls, and was a big-time contributor on all those teams. Look, from a wide receiver's perspective, I could argue that the wide receivers at LSU over the past 20 years have been better than the running backs at a university that's known for its running backs. It's just like we had a debate the other day, which is, to me, it's unbelievable to think this. You and I are big basketball fans. Ronnie, give me 5, your top 5
school, right?
At any school,
compete with LSU.
Yeah, Bill Walton. I'm listening to Bill Walton the other night, who's on one of the broadcasts. Top 5 players of all time. He's got Bob Pettit. He's got Shaquille O'Neal and Chris Jackson. 3 of the 5. Right. And, Pistol Pete. 3 of the 5.
Right.
They're from LSU. You would never have thought that. It really is a fascinating study. Bob Pettit, Shaquille O'Neal, and Pistol Pete.
And Pete Maravich.
Yeah. I would take LSU's all-time basketball team, put them against anybody's team in the country, including North Carolina's, UCLA's. But you don't ever think that when you think LSU, do you? It's a fascinating study. Yeah. Same thing with receivers at LSU.
Yeah, we'll have to marinate on who the third one is. So we both agree Wendell Davis, and we both agree Josh Reed. But the third receiver all-time at LSU, good discussion. So many good modern era receivers from the early Doucettes and the Michael Claytons and the Dwayne Bowes and all to this year's fantastic class with Landry and Beckham. I'm really excited to watch Landry and Beckham at the next level. Yeah. Who's going to be better? Who's going to go to a team
that is going to be better?
Different positions.
I mean, you were right next to him on the sideline.
Landry's a slot receiver who's going to run the right route. He's going to go 7 yards. He's going to shake to the right. He's going to come to the left. He's going to take a beating and catch it one hand. Beckham is going to be more explosive and be able to do some things on the outside. So different type receivers. It's going to depend a lot, of course, on what teams they go to and the quarterbacks.
Lockett. Let me tell you the guy who's going to shine. It's going to be the Chris Carter of college football. Jarvis Landry.
He really is
an absolute mean, competitive. Has a desire. I said this the last time I was on the show, and it doesn't matter in what field you're in. When you've got talent, and that talent meets competitive desire, there is nothing in hell that can stop you. Jarvis Landry plays angry. You watched him, kid special.
Jarvis Landry had 3 of the best catches I've ever seen in person in my life, going back to not this past year, the year before at Arkansas to beat the Razorbacks when he was in the end zone. He dove behind him and caught the ball one-handed. But then this year at Georgia, when he caught the ball over the middle, got crunched at about the 5-yard line. Literally, I thought his neck was broken and they were going to carry him off the field. And then, of course, the catch against Texas A&M, or was it A&M?
Arkansas
again.
Oh, man, that was
the bomb by Mettenberger, the one he got hurt on, where he dove over the top of the guy and took away an interception. I mean, those 3 catches, and I'm sure there's a bunch more.
I mean, this is all time.
But those 3 are literally 3 of the best catches I've ever seen. By the way, the Central Florida tight end this year was the best one. That one,
literally
an $18 million catch. Put him in a BCS championship where they beat Temple. But anyway, Jarvis Landry, I know we're all pulling for, but Odell Beckham is going to do a lot of great things as well.
I think Landry gets it done, his competitive spirit. Beckham, I think, more versatile. I think softer, and I don't mean that to be, I'm not calling the kid soft, but a softer player. Landry will not be denied.
We'll take a break. We come back on final segment. We'll put a bow on LSU recruiting, but also we'll talk about Jeff Grimes, the new offensive line coach. Tigers shaking it up a little bit, and they may be losing some more coaches off of Les Miles' staff. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back with more Sports Shorts from the LeBears Hotel and Casino Studios right after this.
Sports Shorts is brought to you by the LeBears Hotel and Casino in Baton Rouge, AMG Specialty Hospital in Denham Springs, Northwestern Mutual Insurance Agent Walter Price, Mr. Taco on Airline Highway in Baton Rouge, Wagasback Insurance, waginsure.com, and WCK Foundation Repair. Get with the home team.
Hi, I'm Ronnie Rantz over here at LTAC of Denham Springs. Joining me right now is Hospital Administrator and CEO Ricky Robeson. And Ricky, tell us what makes LTAC of Denham Springs so special.
It's a great question, Ronnie. What makes us very special is that we take such a wide range of patients, anywhere from critically ill patients to patients that need rehab and special strengthening and nutrition. What we do best here is patient care. We give the best patient care in the area. Patients, when they come here, they want to come back if they ever need care again. A lot of people say proof is in the pudding. Well, the pudding here is patient surveys. We have 99% patient satisfactions on our most recent studies. One of the things also that people take for granted is food. Food helps you heal. It's very important in the healing process. Not only do our patients, but our patients' families love the food here. That's one of the things we're most proud of, Ronnie.
Well, their food is made on site, and you can come by, check out LTAC at Denham Springs, see Ricky and the gang. It's located just a mile off I-12 and Jubin Road exit in Denham Springs, conveniently located between Hammond and Baton Rouge.
We have 2 cars, an RV, and a home, but only one agent. We've got Wagasback.
I get personal service, and I know I'm getting the best price and coverage. I've got Wagasback.
For my insurance claim, I wasn't just a number, but my agent is number 1. They were with me every step of the way. I've got Wagasback.
Wagasback and Associates Insurance. Over 25 years of saving you money. Whether it's auto, home, life, health, or business insurance, Wagasback has you covered.
A foundation repair may be one of the most serious challenges a homeowner may ever face. That's why Louisiana residents turn to the home team for foundation repair, WCK Foundation Repair. The WCK drill pier method is the ideal solution for our soil, and it is the preferred foundation repair system recommended by most local engineers. Plus, the lifetime warranty leaves you with a secure home in mind. Call for a free estimate or log on to our website to learn more about the signs of foundation damage. WCK Foundation Repair. Support the home team.
Welcome back, everyone. The final segment of Sports Shorts TV. I want to thank Chad Blouin for being our guest today. Pinch hit for the whole hour. Kenny Guillotte was supposed to be here for half the show, the legendary coach at Parkview Baptist School, but he was called out unexpectedly at the last minute. Kenny is rescheduled for next Monday, so we'll join the High School Football Hall of Fame coach, along with Matt Moscona of ESPN Radio will be here as well. So a big show coming up for next week on Sports Shorts TV. LSU football, Jeff Grimes, the new offensive line coach. We got a little video on him. Coach Stradrawa had been here 7 years under Les Miles. He was even the offensive line coach, the coordinator for a minute. But he was let go. A little bit of a surprise. But the Tigers, really haven't had a lot of guys in the NFL from the offensive line. The recruiting aspect might have been an issue. Instead, they go get a guy who came from, last year was at Virginia Tech. 5 years before that was at Auburn and did a good job.
Yeah, and got cut loose by Virginia Tech. I was pulling for your guy, man. Was it Mawai? That was
Kevin Mawai.
Yeah, he was up. I know he interviewed for the job, and it would have been good to have. I always liked the home team cat. He believes, he eats, sleeps, and drinks at university. I thought Mawai would be a good fit. Les Miles has background with. I don't know how much offensive lineman coach actually coached with Les Miles at the helm.
Well, the issue, the problem with the offensive line is, Les Miles was an offensive lineman and coached it, and so he's kind of overlooking the shoulder all the time. And then secondly, so, he's in there. But I think the reason that Kevin Mawai, who obviously is a Hall of Fame offensive lineman and could be a great coach, he just doesn't have any experience on the books, and he hasn't done the recruiting side of things, which we know that is just as important as the coaching part.
I just wish they'd hired me as the recruiter, Ronnie. We'd have a top 2 classes every year.
Yeah, the Tigers would be they'd be in probation every year.
Let me say this, Ronnie. Thanks again for having me, man. I love it. Good to be back with you. Chad Blouin Show. Don't forget on Facebook, ChadBlouinShow.com. It's an honor to sit here, man. Love you, and keep up the good work, man.
Yeah, you can check out Chad, of course, on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday on Fox Radio 910 AM in Baton Rouge. And right there in the middle of your screen, myself, Joel Davis, and Buzzy Heidel, Sports Shorts Radio, Saturday mornings from 10 until noon. We say it's so good, we just want to give it to you once a week. We want you to wait for it every 7 days. Sports Shorts Radio, 10 to noon on ESPN Radio, 104.5 and 104.9 FM. Check us out. We've got a lot going on with that. Last thing, final prediction. You said Seattle Seahawks. Do you really stay with that?
17-13. I call them Sea Thugs. The Sea Thugs.
Yeah, Richard Sherman. Were you bothered by that?
A little until I saw what he actually said, not as much after I saw the in-game NFL highlights. I don't know if you saw that. He walked up to Crabtree. Right. He didn't say anything mean. All he said was, hey, great game. So it kind of changed my perspective. I'm
going with the Denver Broncos. I'm pulling for them. Plus, I do think they're the best team. He's Chad Blouin. We'll have a bunch of great guests next week. Check out Sports Shorts TV right here in Pelican next week.
We have 2 cars, an RV, and a home, but only one agent. We've got Wagasback.
I get personal service, and I know I'm getting the best price and coverage. I've got Wagasback.
For my insurance claim, I wasn't just a number, but my agent is number 1. They were with me every step of the way. I've got Wagasback.
Wagasback and Associates Insurance. Over 25 years of saving you money. Whether it's auto, home, life, health, or business insurance, Wagasback has you covered.
A foundation repair may be one of the most serious challenges a homeowner may ever face. That's why Louisiana residents turn to the home team for foundation repair, WCK Foundation Repair. The WCK drill pier method is the ideal solution for our soil, and it is the preferred foundation repair system recommended by most local engineers. Plus, the lifetime warranty leaves you with a secure home in mind. Call for a free estimate or log on to our website to learn more about the signs of foundation damage. WCK Foundation Repair. Support the home team.
future Hall of Fame career, you start doing some work, in the union,
Yeah.
with the player as
Yeah.
a player rep for the union. How did that come about?
Well, when I was a young player in Seattle, I really didn't pay attention to the PA stuff and what was going on. Really didn't really care. I'd go there, I'd get a royalties check, that kind of thing. But I always kept up on what's going on in the business of football, and I think that's what a lot of young players. They wait till it's too late to understand the business, and the sooner you can separate the business from the game, then you understand why things happen the way they do. So when I went to Seattle, from Seattle to New York, we would have our union meetings, and there would be guys would ask questions, and I knew the answers just because I paid attention. And Keyshawn Johnson said, well, you need to be our player rep. So he nominated me. I got elected and served as a team player rep for 4 years. And then going to that 5th year, I was already on the board with several players from the executive committee. Vice presidents had retired, so there's 4 positions on the board that had left. And I was nominated as a vice president, and I joined the board as a vice president. Served there for 4 years or 6 years until I got elected in 2008 as the president. And but I was always involved in wanting to know, the rules and why we do things. But more importantly, how to protect the guys. What benefits do you have, whether it be health, medical, post-career benefits and things like that. So I was always wanting to know when this thing ends, what's next. And so by virtue of that, I wanted to be a part of it and help make policy and things like that.
We're visiting with Kevin Blouin, former LSU Tiger and NFL. Great. We're going to take a break. When we come back on the other side, we'll get Kevin's take at the end of his career. He was the player rep when you guys had the lockout. I want to get your thoughts on that, and also your thoughts on the settlement, the concussion settlement, and some opinions on that. Plus, a final thought from Kevin on the 2013 LSU Tigers. He's had a chance to evaluate this year's team. Want to get his thoughts, and particularly on that offensive line. We'll take a break and be back with the final segment with Kevin Blouin right after this. You're watching Sports Shorts from the LaBerge Hotel and Casino Studios.
Sports Shorts is brought to you by the LaBerge Hotel and Casino in Baton Rouge, AMG Specialty Hospital in Denham Springs, Northwestern Mutual Insurance Agent Walter Price, Mr. Taco on Airline Highway in Baton Rouge, Wagasback Insurance, waginsure.com, and WCK Foundation Repair. Get with the home team.
Hi, I'm Ronnie Rantz over here at LTAC of Denham Springs. Joining me right now is Hospital Administrator and CEO Ricky Robeson. And Ricky, tell us what makes LTAC of Denham Springs so special.
It's a great question, Ronnie. What makes us very special is that we take such a wide range of patients, anywhere from critically ill patients to patients that need rehab and special strengthening and nutrition. What we do best here is patient care. We give the best patient care in the area. Patients, when they come here, they want to come back if they ever need care again. A lot of people say proof is in the pudding. Well, the pudding here is patient surveys. We have 99% patient satisfactions on our most recent studies. One of the things also that people take for granted is food. Food helps you heal. It's very important in the healing process. Not only do our patients, but our patients' families love the food here. That's one of the things we're most proud of, Ronnie.
Well, their food is made on site, and you can come by, check out LTAC of Denham Springs, see Ricky and the gang. It's located just a mile off I-12 and Jubin Road exit in Denham Springs, conveniently located between Hammond and Baton Rouge.
We have 2 cars, an RV, and a home, but only one agent. We've got Wagasback.
I get personal service, and I know I'm getting the best price and coverage. I've got Wagasback.
For my insurance claim, I wasn't just a number, but my agent is number 1. They were with me every step of the way. I've got Wagasback.
Wagasback and Associates Insurance. Over 25 years of saving you money. Whether it's auto, home, life, health, or business insurance, Wagasback has you covered.
A foundation repair may be one of the most serious challenges a homeowner may ever face. That's why Louisiana residents turn to the home team for foundation repair, WCK Foundation Repair. The WCK drill pier method is the ideal solution for our soil, and it is the preferred foundation repair system recommended by most local engineers. Plus, the lifetime warranty leaves you with a secure home in mind. Call for a free estimate or log on to our website to learn more about the signs of foundation damage. WCK Foundation Repair. Support the home team. Welcome back, everyone. The final segment of this week's show. Joining me is our special guest for the second week in a row, Kevin Mawai. And Kevin, I can't thank you enough, man, for coming by.
I'm enjoying it.
I appreciate it.
I'm getting hungry smelling this food. But, you know,
Yeah.
it's been sitting here for 2 weeks now.
Very true. Hey, the muffalata stays well. You know, the olive mix, it holds well. Thanks to Rocco's, by the way, for bringing that. We talked about before break how you gotten real involved with the NFL Players Association.
Yeah.
You later became the president and the head of it. I think people would probably be amazed at when you're the union rep and then, of course, later become the president. It's like real business here.
It is business.
You know, it's not just a couple of votes every once in a while.
This is not like, hey, let's have orange Kool-Aid in the. I mean, this is, if you're going to split the total revenue of the NFL, which is $10 billion this year, and the players get 48% of that, what do you want to do with 48% of $10 billion?
Right.
And then that's where let's take this, let's increase benefits here. So much of that's going to go to our players' salaries. So much is going to go back to the former players. So much is going to be set aside for research and development. So you're voting on all this stuff. And the NFL Players Association is a business unto itself. It's an operating expense of almost $40 million a year. And so we spend one whole day just going over the budget of running the business. And it's a nonprofit because it's a labor union, but then we own a for-profit, which is Players Inc., which is the royalties and licensing and things like that. So anytime, you buy a Drew Brees jersey, there's a percentage of that that's going to the player, that's a percentage of that that's going to the Players Association, that's a percentage of that going to the NFL itself. And so all that gets put in there. And then there's benefits packages. You got a staff of like 100-something people that actually work in our building in Washington, D.C., so you're actually the board of a corporation is what you basically are.
And you got involved during a tumultuous time,
Yeah.
with the union. You get Gene Upshaw, passing away
Yeah.
and stepping down, and you jump in there, and then all of a sudden the owners decide that they opt out of the collective bargaining agreement
Yeah.
between you and the players. Take us back to 2008, 2009, when all of a sudden now there's this turmoil for the future of football.
Oh, it was hard. I got elected in March 2008. I get a call August of 2008 informing me that Gene Upshaw passed away the night before. So now everything's in a tailspin. In that interim time, the NFL had opted out of the deal, so now we know that we got to get a deal done within this next 2-year period because the current CBA would run out. And I was stuck in the middle of an executive search process, a nationwide, highly visible search process that was highly charged. A lot of political stuff going on. Got called to Capitol Hill to testify in a Supreme Court case. Got called to Capitol Hill to give an accounting of the search process. I was the head of the search process. I hired a search firm, then interviewed 25 candidates, narrowed it down to take viable candidates to the board in the following year's meeting so that the board can vote on the new executive director, which is where we got DeMaurice Smith. And then from there, it's starting the policy or the game plan to start the negotiations process. So negotiations actually started in April of 2009, and it didn't finish until 2011. So in that time, in 2.5 years or 2 years, there were meetings in New York, Washington, D.C., in Houston, and Dallas with lawyers, attorneys, management council from the NFL, executive vice presidents from the union, myself, executive directors. And it's a constant machine just moving. And then finally we get to a point when we're 6 months out from the new season starting where we're having secret super meetings in St. Charles, Illinois, in Manhasset, New York, where people don't even know where we're at. We're sequestered for 3 days. We're just hammering things home for 12, 14, 20 hours a day. Had to go into arbitration or mediation services, and that didn't work. And that's when we did decertification of the Players Association, filing class action lawsuits. Just so much going on, and the whole thing was, for me as the president, was trying to get our guys to stay focused on what the important issues are. Let's not get caught off on rabbit trails, but understanding that it's our duty to make a deal that was right for the players, not just now, but for the future of the game. And for both sides. But understand you're not going to get everything that you want, and the NFL's not going to get everything that they want. And we came to a conclusion in July of 2011 that we felt was a fair deal, and then the players voted and we ratified the deal, and that's saving football.
After a couple of years of just hard-fought negotiations and all that, I mean, when a deal like that gets done, is there any bad blood between you and some of the owners?
No, I think what happened, because this was the first time in the history of the NFL that active players were actually at the bargaining table, not just attorneys or whatever. When I say, when we're divvying up pots of millions of dollars, it's not two attorneys. It's myself and Jeff Saturday sitting against Jerry Jones and Robert Kraft. So we're not going to do that, or we want this. And so it was really the owners and the players that did this deal, and then the lawyers come in and kind of tidy it all up. But it was interesting, man. It was a great experience, one that you never think you'd ever have to do being a football player, but to understand the game. There's a lot of moving parts that made it happen.
That was the final act of Kevin Mawai, the
was
football
the final
player.
Act. That's absolutely right.
You're done as a player. You're done as a union president. It had to kind of be a relief to get it over.
For me, one of the proudest moments that I ever had was the day that we stood in front of 63 Upshaw Place in Washington, D.C. and announced that we came to an agreement. And it's for me, I'm so proud of it. And there's guys now and agents that want to tear this whole deal apart, but the reality of it was we did a deal that we felt was best for the future of the game, not just the players, but the game itself. And so, when I got inducted to the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame this year, they asked you to send items that would represent you or your playing career and things like that. And the one thing I wanted was a copy of the signed paper where my name was on the collective bargaining agreement. So up in Natchitoches at the Sports Hall of Fame, is the front page of the collective bargaining agreement with my signature on it and my union card right next to it. Because aside from the game itself, which I had a phenomenal career, my name and my legacy is sealed on that piece of paper, at least until 2021, when this deal ends and the next group of leadership has to come up with another new collective bargaining agreement.
I don't want to take too much time on this because I want to get a couple minutes on your take on LSU this year, but in a real quick 30 seconds or less than a minute, give us was it a good deal, the concussion settlement?
No, for the guys that are needed now, it was a good deal. Right. And I just say these names so I know who they are. Kevin Turner and Steve Gleason, guys like that, O.J. Brigance.
They need money now.
That need money now because of their health issues, stuff like that. What we lost in that deal was the ability to know what the NFL knew back in the early 90s.
Right.
And that's what we lost. Information is key. $756 million paid out over 20 years amounts to less than $1 million per club for the next 20 years. It's for the cost of the lowest franchise in NFL, which is the Jacksonville Jaguars. They gave up the deal, and they don't ever have to turn anything over.
Yeah, that's. I figured that would be your take on it. 2013 LSU football. I know you did the game this past week for Tiger Vision on the sidelines. You watched this LSU offensive line. Let's go right there first. They didn't have any Lyle Collins. They didn't have Porter this past week. They could have played had it been a big game, but they sat him out against Furman. Your overall take on this offensive line?
I think our offensive line at LSU are a bunch of big, talented guys that are still trying to figure out to work within each other. I think whatever deficiencies our offensive line has are hidden by the talent of our running backs and our quarterback this year, which is great. In the past we've talked about our defense and how our defense has held on for our offense, but I think it's flipped this year. Zach Mettenberger is playing lights out. He's had the first pick of the game the other day and the bad game against Ole Miss, but he's playing the kind of ball you want to see an SEC quarterback play. Jeremy Hill, Blue, McGee, those guys are tearing it up on the ground, and of course the offensive line is doing it. But we got some young guys that don't have a whole lot of playing experience that are trying to figure it all out right now.
How do you make an offensive line gel? I mean, you got all these big, strong, talented guys. They're high recruits. They all have good feet. They all have the ideal size. What's the key ingredient to making a good offensive line?
I think first it's the attitude of each individual player, and understand that there's more to the game than just being a big guy that can run. You know, there's the game within the game, the right footwork, hand placement, head placement, and guys trying to figure that out and how they work with the guy next to him. If Trey Turner can figure out how to work next to Hawkins, and they become two, become one, then they become a more powerful force. And same thing with the center working with, you know, Vidal, or Vidal working with Lyle. Those guys learn to work together to accomplish things. I think they'd be a whole lot better.
Of the group, of the guys, freshmen, seniors, whatever, is there a off-the-page most talented offensive lineman?
Right now, I don't think one guy sticks out. I think they all play solid. I think the left side of our line is stronger because the two big guys over there, they play well individually. I think there's a lot of talent, a lot of ability in Porter at center, and I think he's just got to develop that. Trey Turner is a guy that's going to do things the right way, and the Hawk is he's just fresh. He's raw, and I think the more upside is the center and the right tackle.
What's you've been around Coach Miles and Stradawa and that team. Tell us something about Coach Stud or Coach Miles that maybe people don't know. Give us your take on those.
I really, to be honest with you, when I go out there a couple of days a week and watch practice, I spend more time watching the defense than I do our offense, and for a number of different reasons. One, you just kind of feel you feel like you're being my career. You don't want to step on anybody's toes, make anybody feel uncomfortable. So I spend more time watching, Ego Ferguson and Anthony Johnson, Jordan, all those guys on defense, but. Less is less. What I see him on the field is the same guy everybody sees on TV. His lessisms or mileisms or whatever you want to call them, and I say Stud's a very loud man.
He definitely is.